Hello and welcome to this impromptu BX tinkering video. As you can see, the magnificent Mark 1 16 TRS is up on the ramp. Magnificent because it will be for sale, so it's very magnificent, and you will be too if you buy it. As you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to because this camera has no form of zoom, but the ride height at the back is bigger than the ride height at the front. That is the technical term, bigger. I'm going to adjust the back. The front is fine, it's the right height, it rides beautifully. In fact, to be fair, it rides beautifully now. Look, there's Clement looking fairly bad. What just fell off my camera? Holy God, look, it was a spider. What? Look, just, what you do it? Okay, fine. Oh no, it wasn't a spider. My tripod's fallen, but wow. Sorry, my tripod is disintegrating. Well, this is going swimmingly. BX, as you can see. So you're going to wonder, how would you adjust the ride height on a BX? With the hydro-pneumatic suspension, as evidenced by the spheres underneath, which were lovely and bright green and are now rusty because I've been driving this car in all conditions. It's actually quite simple. It's delightfully simple. The front and rear have this thing called a height corrector. And the height corrector is a valve that either adds fluid to the suspension cylinders, the things that the spheres are bolted to, that lift the car up and down, or they allow it to be sent back to the reservoir. They suck it back out, well, don't suck it back out, but they allow it to be purged back out, and the car sinks. So they control whether the suspension is getting more or less fluid, or whether it just stays at the right level. And they are activated by the anti-roll bars, and I shall show you how. So we have to keep the engine running for it to work, but basically here is the rear axle, and yes, it is very good condition under here. Anyone who is, look, they normally rust like hell there. Adventures in Rust has just seen that and gone, oh, you jammy. So the anti-roll bar is this. And the anti-roll bar's purpose is not to control the height of suspension on a Citroën, far from it, but Citroën use it to do this. I mean, it still performs its job of being an anti-roll bar to try and limit body roll, but in this instance, it has a far bigger effect. So the height corrector is up there. That's the height corrector there, that little round, that thing up there. That's the height corrector. And that is basically a body with some little tiny, beautifully machined slide valves in it, which control whether fluid goes to or from the cylinders, which are here. The spheres are on the end. Don't get confused by the spheres. The spheres are the shock absorber and spring, and nothing to do with the height. If your car is not going up or down, it is nothing to do with spheres. Because when you put it on its highest mode, you fill these cylinders with fluid and they can't move anymore. In fact, when you put it on its lowest mode, you take all the fluid out and it falls down. But if it's on normal ride height, the sphere just does the ride. The cylinder does the height. And it is controlled by the height corrector. That controls this one and this one. And there's one on the front axle as well. So when you pull the suspension down, and I'm trying to find something I can pull on that is not disgusting. Let me see if I can do it. The anti-roll bar twists. You see? And when the anti-roll bar twists, it moves these rods. And these rods go into a little rotating bracket, which pushes against, on the other side of it, the height corrector. And it moves it by millimeters. We are talking, it is very sensitive. So you have all this movement, all the suspension travel. The height corrector moves like hardly anything. But it's very, very sensitive. They have a built-in damper, if you like. They don't react instantly, because if they reacted instantly, it would forever just be doing this as you drove down the road, trying to get the right height. They have a built-in kind of damping effect, so they take a while to react. I hope this sound comes out and it's not too distorted and horrible, because it is quite noisy under here, but the engine has to be running to do this. So if I was to pull down on the, see if I can grab something. If I was to pull down on the suspension like this, and keep it down, it's like someone's just got in the car, the height corrector rod has pushed against it, it's not going to let me do it because I haven't got enough weight on it, have I? No. Right. Always makes it hard, doesn't it? So you saw how the rod, or how the roll bar was rotating, and that was rotating a clamp, which was rotating a rod, which was pushing against the valve. If you get in the car now, so say I simulate someone heavy, like me, getting in the car, the suspension will compress. That will push against the height corrector. The height corrector will go, oh, I've been moved. And in moving it, it pushes the slide valve. That opens up the channel for more fluid to come through and fill the cylinders back up until the anti-roll bar is rotated back to the point where the back end is at the right height, in which case it automatically shuts the height corrector. So if I was to hang off the back of this car now, it should lift me back up. I'm not that heavy. There you go. I'm off the ground. It's lifted me up and then it stopped. And if I do this, now it's too high. And it's going, oh no, I'm too high. And it should come back down, but it might make me look like a moron and not do what it's meant to do. Now there you go, it is coming down. Oh, I've hurt me back. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go die in the corner. So I've got my scientific height block here. And what I do with this is it fits under here between the sill panel and the lip at the bottom. But at the back's too high because some idiot set this up. It was me. So what I'm going to do is adjust the ride height, which is very simple. Very easy to balls it up, but it's actually very simple to do. What we're going to do is undo this bolt here, because being a Citroën, that is an 11mm bolt, and I'm going to undo it. Well, I'm going to try and undo it, and it might break. Right, I've undone the bolt, and now what will happen is, if I compress the suspension, the anti-roll bar should move inside that bracket, like that. Which means if I was to do this and pull the suspension down now, if I was to hang off the back of the car, but I'm not going to because of my back, it won't lift itself back up anymore. It's now just riding on whatever's in those rear cylinders. And if I keep doing this, it'll probably send some of it back up to the tank. So there are two ways of doing this. I could try pulling the suspension down slightly and then tightening that bolt back up, or I could rotate the bracket there. Now what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to try pulling it down and doing the bolt up, because I've never tried doing that before. I always just take the bracket and rotate it slightly, but I'm going to see if I can set the suspension where I want it. So this is a new system I have devised. This is, yeah, we'll see if this works. I don't know if it will, but what I'm thinking is if I put this under here and pull the car down and see that it lands on it and then do the bolt up, might work. Might work, might make it look stupid. I can't get hold of the car, that's the problem. Right. I'm intrigued. Thing is, there's a bit of play in those rods, so it probably won't work. Oh. I don't think it'll work. You never know, it might do, but... Yeah. Come on. That block of wood is actually exactly the right height. As long as your sills have been done properly. Of course mine have, because... No, if anything, that's higher. No, okay, that's not going to work. I shall just have to play with it until that fits in the way it's supposed to fit. So if I was to now grab the linkage by hand and turn it like this, nothing will happen. Why? There you go. Going up. I don't want you to go up, I want you to come down. Ah, okay, right. And if there's a different adjustment needed, the arm, the lever inside the car moves these arms on the back and overrides them. And on this car, it's set wrong. And I never actually took that off, so that might have been like that from new. But that's why the back end's now on high and the front is on normal. So I'll adjust that. Come on. There we go. Right, let's try again. So, oh no, wrong way. Christ. Down you come. I'll show you what it will. Come down as far as I thought. I'll show you what it was that I changed just now. Not quite there. I'm lifting the car with like all my strength. I'm so good. Oh, nearly. There we go. That is now. Oh, it's dropped at the front. Right, it needs to come down a tiny bit. Hang on, this isn't my normal piece of wood. I've just realised I've got the wrong bit of wood. Anyway, that's the right height. Right, can you just do it now, please? There you go. So the bit that was not set right was this thing here. This is the rod that goes from the lever from the front of the car, from the cabin, and it's got this kind of window here. And that can't be hard up against one or the other sides, because if it is, it won't allow the height corrector to move. And it was hard up against it, but I'd never actually undone that. You can see the mark where I had to move it, which was quite strange. So suggests it's always been a bit high from new, which is weird. But so yeah, there we go. The last thing to test is the lever. Make sure it goes up high and then comes back down and goes where it's meant to go. So if I try going to low, and to be fair, this back end never went down fully low because obviously it was being restricted. But now, oh God, is that on the bump stops? It is, that's correct, at last. And then if I go to high, you watch, the back end won't lift now. Raise. There we go. And now the back end will be well, when it stops clicking, it'll be fully stiff. Like that. Which is why you can't drive on it. And then normal ride height. Well, the front end's unhappy, that's just collapsed. And now it's come back up. There we go. I'm going to wash my hands and test drive it. Alright, let's see how she goes. So I've got the back end sat a little bit lower than it was before. I've given the steering a tweak as well. I haven't got it bang on, but it's a lot better than it was. Hell of a lot better than it was. And I've got to say, yeah, the suspension improvement, or the suspension adjustment, has been an improvement. It's feeling better. It just feels a little bit more planted. I mean, when they're up, you know, in the air a little bit, when they're too high, they're a bit sort of up on their tiptoes and a bit nervous. It just feels planted now. I can just thread it through bends with gay abandon. I could, if I wasn't getting stuck behind Mercedes and BMWs with like exhaust, lots of exhaust on the back, most of them fake. Yeah, despite them not actually being like an M3 or an M5, they've got the wheels with the tiny profile tyres and low suspension and everything like that, and consequently they ride horrendously, and they're driven by people who are out to spoil my fun. I've got suspension. I can deal with bumps. They can't. I got one of them. Got an SM too. But yeah, I'm going to call that a success. This is driving quite nicely. I did try oiling the throttle pedal, well, the throttle cable rather, to try and, because it's ruining the enjoyment slightly. The throttle pedal's just a little bit sticky, and that done half spoil the fun. And it hasn't made, if anything, it's made it worse. So yeah, but I have ordered a new throttle cable, which, believe it or not, is the same as a certain Picasso. Yeah. Right, I'm going to enjoy my drive home.